Hey everybody, today's episode of the podcast is with the great Ron Carter. Ron is an amazing bassist, composer and teacher. It was truly an honour to speak to him, and to have his time was an amazing thing. Ron's played with Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter, Joe Henderson, Andrew Hill. I could go on forever. His body work is just incredible. He's played on over 2,000 records, which is insane, and it was truly such an honor to speak to him. And I was very nervous because I've heard him on so many records that I have. So thank you so much to Ron for his time and knowledge. If anyone doesn't know Ron's body of work, please go out and check it out. I'm sure you know it, even if you don't know that you know it, because he's played on so many records. But it was a true honor to talk to him, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. So Ron, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
That's good. You're surviving the crazy life that we're having now.
Well, we're all trying to get through the days and make it not so difficult. We'll see how the day makes it through us.
Are you missing playing live?
I miss them playing with my friends. I did some streams with a couple of bands, a trio and a duo, quartet. I miss more than that, playing for more than 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah. I'm sure this is the longest you've gone without playing on a regular basis.
9 months? Wow. I think so.
It's so weird. I've talked to so many people, just doing the podcast and stuff, and everyone's in that same kind of mindset. We're all a bit kind of like, it's just odd.
We're still stunned that it's happening.
Yeah. I initially thought it was only going to be a few weeks kind of vibe, and that hasn't happened.
I didn't have a time frame, but I couldn't believe that this is now November 3 of all days, and I haven't gone to a nightclub to work for my living.
Yeah.
Since March 2.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, some guys, we 2 weeks before me, but that was my last day returning to New York and finding out that there were no gigs for the foreseeable future. Yeah. It's quite amazing.
What do you think is going to happen when everything comes back?
Well, my general concern is that the clubs won't be as many, and they'll be smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the rules prohibit audiences or restaurant crowds of more than 25% or so. If you have a club that's 200 people, I mean, the most they can get in there is 50 seats, and you got a band, a high-powered band that's going to draw people, but they're going to sit 50 people. The owners got a deal with the band to cut their price down by a third, and the band leaders got hired the band for a half what they would normally get, and I'm not sure bands or clubs can survive that environment. So we're concerned about when it does finally open, we think probably in the late spring that there'll be some work left. Right now, I'm not looking. I don't see that happening very well.
Yeah. Well, at least we got music. That's one good thing.
Yeah, we'll always have that. My concern is having it for everybody else but me.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. Actually, when I was walking on the beach yesterday, I was listening to the album you did with Jim Hall, all together.
Yeah, All Alone. That's a nice record. Yeah, my friend, I miss him as we speak.
Yeah. What was it like working with him? Because I thought he was a very underrated guitar player.
Well, he didn't have the flash that guys have, and he didn't make himself socially an issue.
Mm-hmm.
He just went out there and made some arrangements, played some originals, and trusted his partner, in this case me, my judgment as to what best note I could find to make him sound reasonable.
Yeah, because you were good dance partners. You kind of had this. You played so well off each other on that record.
Yeah. Well, and live it was even more fun because it was longer periods of time. There wasn't a 5-minute track.
Yeah. Do you find as you're getting older, you kind of miss a lot of the people you used to play with?
I miss them all.
Yeah.
I look at the records now, and I'm the only one left standing, and it's not a nice feeling, but it's one that is.
Well, you don't look 83. You look amazing for your age.
Well, I'm a little older than that now. That was 83 in May.
Oh, 83 in May. Well, you don't look it. You're looking very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good. And Lee...
Our friend up there.
And Lee Kantz died this year.
Yeah, I went to his. I went to a memorial of a friend of ours who had passed away, and he was playing saxophone as one of the events of the service. And yeah, I've known Lee for a very long time. He and Jim and I made a soundtrack for a movie called Desperate Characters with Shirley MacLaine in the late whenever it was.
Yeah.
Nice fun playing with him.
Yeah, he's a beautiful player. He had a beautiful sound.
Yeah.
Do you play a lot of classical music still, or is it just purely
Well,
jazz?
I don't get the call because those classical people don't know I exist by and large, and I'm not offended. I'm just kind of I miss the environment,
Yeah.
because a pretty uneven dance card. I know who they are. I know their
Mm-hmm.
library.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't seem too interested in learning my plural, not me personally, my plural, my environment and what I do. I think it's not. I'm trying to avoid using the word fair because it's not a matter of fair. It's a matter of being well-rounded and understanding there's something out there besides Beethoven and Brahms.
I know. I grew up playing classical music. I went to college studying classical music, and it's like if you're not into classical music, it's like that's all that exists in that realm, which is quite weird for me because there's so much
Yeah.
other music.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I was talking to one of my friends, Nduzo Makatini, and he's a South African jazz player. He's signed to Blue Note, but we were talking about the silence in music. How important do you feel that silence is within music to use it with regard to how a note might feel after or before?
I don't know how he defines silence, so I couldn't answer that until I hear some of his samples, and I can tell him if I agree or
Hmm.
how I define it. It's a pretty broad word. There's many connotations.
We were just talking kind of how important it is within a piece of music, just that it can change the piece with how long you leave the silence or how short you leave the silence. And
Well, again, depends on who I'm playing with. If
hmm.
I'm how big the band is, what the library is, what the level of interest as far as harmony and rhythm is concerned is. W- w- Speaking of classical music, when my students and I go through these etudes, which I use to develop their skill as I use mine, there needs to be a comma at a certain place, a phrase mark. This is a return to the theme. Those kind of implied silences, a little retardo, accelerando. Those things are just part of breathing. And I
Hmm.
think that I don't specifically seek out these places. I trust my instinct and my experience that told me that this chord needs to have a little more space before it resolves to the next chord, or that less space. That the environment depends on all those kind of factors for me.
Hmm. Who who would be like people that you would regard underrated who you played with that you didn't think got enough credit?
All of them. Yeah, all of them are fighting. All of them are fighting for life, and they don't get the kind of exposure they need. The New York Times has a heading that says, "All the news that's fit to print." That's their motto.
Yeah.
I hope they start to add jazz to that list pretty fucking soon.
Me too, man. It's like most people when you say to them, if you say, oh, I like jazz, and they know Miles and they know John Coltrane, but they never know Wayne Shorter or
Yeah,
Andrew
because
Hill or
yeah, there's a bigger picture. Uh, the orchestra comes, the Philharmonic orchestra has come to town, or the opera has a thing, and the Times has it in their review before the first applause has stopped, before the encores take place. Jazz band's in town for 6 days, and we know that they were here by the results of the calendar 2 months later. Oh, they were here and I have always resented that lack of attention from that part of the media.
Yeah, because it doesn't get enough attention.
It's all those people who don't get to the New York Times reviewers schedule. I find abhorring. So to answer your question, they're all underrated.
Yeah, because
They're all not rated because that's what happens. No one, they don't get the exposure.
yeah, because there's so much. Like I can just go out and buy most Blue Note records that I buy, and I've never heard it before, and I just know I'm gonna love it automatically because it's just you find someone who played on a Miles record or a Horace Silver record or Lee Morgan record, and then you keep delving in. It's like an endless circle of just amazing music, and it's all
Hmm.
so different than each other.
Yep. Yep.
Do you find it different collaborating with someone on a song as opposed to doing your own song, like when you worked on ESP, those songs you did on that, or do you?
Well, jazz groups in general are collaborative
Mm-hmm.
efforts.
Mm-hmm.
Occasionally, you have a Horace Silver who's self-contained, or a Benny Golson who's self-contained, meaning that they come to the sessions with a concept and a piece ready for performance,
Mm-hmm.
And there are people like Wayne who come with the same mindset, but they're open to whatever suggestions are around them that makes their piece have a different slant, different tempo, a different key.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, yeah, as a sideman, you try to be available to all those choices, and you have to recognize when this person doesn't want any help to fix their piece, and those people who don't want to help, but clearly that song needs some input from someone else other than their own concept.
Yeah.
And you got to tiptoe around that issue carefully, but try to find a comfortable resolution because the date's still got to go on, and this piece is kind of stuck in the middle of the road, and the composer is not flexible enough to hear any kind of alteration, any kind of suggestions as to
Mm-hmm.
what make this piece more playable. You know, so it's a delicate line, but if you're sensitive and you've been experienced in how to see a piece differently than the composer wrote it, and you think he's open to your suggestion, you take a chance and step out there and by and large, those people they look at it and say, "Okay, I'll give that thought for the next piece." No,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let it go. You know.
Yeah. I love that record you did, Anything Goes. It's like so funky.
Yeah, that's way back in the day, man. That was when they had everybody had an LP. It wasn't
Yeah.
just three people.
Yeah. What was it like? The like the atmosphere. How exciting was it playing back when jazz was at its peak, shall we say?
I don't know if those days have gone, so I can't answer that.
Right. So it's still as exciting as it ever was for you.
Me, absolutely is. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not into that jazz is dead mindset, so I can't answer that question.
That's amazing, man. I love that because I find music. Um, it kind of I love music, but I think it also made me kind of a bit too inward, if you know what I mean, because it's such a solitude kind of thing. Sometimes when you're practicing and stuff like that, you can become very loner type thing.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't understand. I don't know that feeling, but uh, to relate to that general concept of aloneness, when I'm playing with a band, I'm with all those
Yeah,
guys and gals. However the band size is 16 to 2, I'm with them. I'm not playing by myself. I'm not isolating myself from my environment. How can I play if I do that?
yeah.
I need their help, and then I want to help them.
So when you're composing, do you chart out things, or do you just bring stuff in and everyone collaborates, or have you got a rough map, or?
I've done both. I brought in a complete composition that I thought was pretty self-sufficient, self-sustaining. And I bought pieces that brought in songs that I know that it's not quite there. Guys, what can we do to make this piece work? And sometimes they have ideas that work for me, and otherwise, I just put on my bulletin board and come back to it later on.
Yeah, that's what's amazing about those records back when Rudy Van Gelder was recording them, and those kind of records was they were done like in one day. You couldn't be splicing tape because it was quite difficult.
There's no budget, not a substantial budget. You had one day to make the record. Maybe there was a rehearsal 2 days before. All the guys went in and knowing that they had one or two takes. Overdubbing was not really in existence just then, and editing solos out for too long and not enough courses meant splicing a tape, and it take a certain kind of skill level clearly to do that. So
Hmm.
they're basically complete takes, and it was just a matter of which is the best take of the two takes. Uh, I thought the music was really successful. The performances were all high level. The intensity was able to sustain itself for the entire session because we knew that we have one or two takes, and when we leave here, the record's got to be complete. There's no day after tomorrow for anything else. So the band, the musicians, understood what kind of air they were walking into, and they all took care of business
Yeah,
on all those records.
it's just the records of those times. They just sound so brilliant because
Yeah, some good records, man. A lot of music.
yeah, it's just so good. And some of them back in the, I think Rudy recorded some of them in his parents' house at the start for Blue Note.
Yeah, well, he ultimately got his own space in uh, Inglewood Cliffs, and built his own space and built his own air and built his own equipment by and large, and really controlled the sound from the guy's horn to your ear, you know. And I thought that was quite a unique way to do it, you know.
Yeah. What was the difference between Rudy and Creed Taylor, production wise, or even personality wise, when they're producing?
Well, Creed was a producer and Rudy was engineer. That's kind of different jobs, you know.
Yeah.
If Creed had the idea, Rudy's job was to kind of get it down in a form that people could hear, kind of
Uh,
sound could get out of this kind of concept.
so would you collaborate more with Creed in terms of like music or just production ideas or?
Well, I'm not sure how you define those two as being different. Uh, I was a bass player of record, and they trusted my judgment as I trusted theirs. If I thought that this tune had enough,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we had to change the format a little bit, or maybe if I do this differently than the guy wanted, I thought it'd make the tune more successful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they trusted my experience, they trusted my input, you know, and they thought that the guys with which I was hired to play with trusted my sense of maturity and my responsibility and my judgment of an idea and attitude.
Mm.
So a nice triad of people who were helping to make this music. Rudy's the engineer. Creed had the concept of what kind of sound he wanted to make this record to have, and my kind of job, among others, was to help the band kind of coalesce around this idea, and can we make this idea work?
When you're like working nowadays on modern records, do you do it in the modern way of like overdubbing stuff, or do you all get in the room together?
Well, I don't do much overdubbing because I'm the bass player, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And generally, when I'm done, I'm kind of done. I don't know what they do with it after I'm gone. I try to leave
Yeah.
my footprint in the date so that there'll be something left when they finish editing and remixing and stuff. Uh, you say that I haven't done the record in a very long time, and I've kind of forgotten the answer to that kind of question because I left the studio. I haven't been in the studio since January of last year, of this year perhaps, in the real studio making the record, you know.
Yeah.
Almost a year has gone by, and I have not been in the studio to make a recording. So I've kind of forgot to answer that kind of question because I haven't done it in a long time.
Do you rather the studio work or the playing live, or is it just they're both different things that you love at the same time?
They have different responsibilities, and I love them both, and I miss them both terribly.
Yeah, that's kind of a good thing and a bad thing about modern recording is that you have infinite choices. Whereas you know a long time ago you might have a 4-track or a 2-track or an 8-track, and now almost too much choice actually.
I agree. Too many options. Yep. And everyone's afraid to say no. You know, oh, one more, no one's going to be the guy that says stop. You know, well, I've been that guy, and I felt that my commentary was necessary at that point. Guys, enough. This is take 37 or so. No,
Because you lose
done.
it. You lose that feeling.
Yeah, yeah. It gets to be promoted. It gets to be too personal. You know,
Yeah, yeah. It's like everything. Everything that comes good, everything comes bad with it, you know?
you gotta stop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How would you describe your playing style?
I don't do that. I trust you to do that. I'm the guy. I'm the guy who plays as best he can all the time. That's kind of what I do.
You played electric bass for a while, but you're rather the upright.
Well, I thought that there were guys who were so far ahead on their instrument that I didn't have the time
Yeah.
to catch up to them because they were really had sounds going. They had the gear. They understood the physical mechanics. They understood the electronics of that stuff. They were inventing stuff every hour. They were so far ahead of me. I just didn't have the. I knew that I was in the area that I couldn't be, to say the least, competitive. And I had upright sound I was working on. I had some concepts in my head already, and I was comfortable to try to see how far I could make this tree grow.
Yeah. How'd you get involved with a Tribe Called Quest? That you played on Low End Theory, the Low
A
End
guy
Theory.
called guy called one day and asked me to make this record with him, and not knowing who he was or what they were, I called one of my sons who was more into that genre than I was, and he told me he thought that this group was the most musical of the ones who were out there at the time, and if the guys called me to make a record with them, they must have thought that I could have been very important to their project. So I got back to them and worked out the deal. We had a
Great
great
record.
time. Some great kids, man.
Yeah.
I was sorry to see them break up when it was really time for them to step it up one more notch, you know.
Do you listen to a lot of music outside of jazz or?
Oh yeah, right now I'm listening to the Glenn Gould
Oh wow,
Goldberg Variations. Yeah,
the
it's a
Bach.
great recording, man.
He is
Yeah,
an
it's
amazing piano
wonderful.
player.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of really listening to stuff that I haven't had time to do. I haven't taken the time to do for a while, and now that I have 9 months of not going to the gig every night, you know, I've been forced to sit down and just do some library research of what I have, and I've been in that for the past month or so, just listening to his Global Variation, which is, as everyone knows, an incredible
Yeah,
performances of our times. You know?
yeah. So you're a big Bach fan.
Well, I'm a music fan.
Yeah,
Right now, that's on my literal turntable.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Do you listen to mostly vinyl?
Well, I have a really a decent set, so I do have some nice vinyl, and they're issuing more and more of the Blue Note stuff in the original vinyl about the stick,
I've been
you
buying
know.
them.
Yeah, and so I'm enjoying that sound back from the day of the '60s and '70s, you know, when vinyl was the king. So
Yeah,
I'm listening to whatever it is. Of course, I have, like everybody else, have some CDs, and occasionally I will play the CD, the version of the vinyl, and see which one strikes my fancy, and it's
yeah,
an interesting kind of comparative event, you know.
yeah. It's a different kind of way of listening because you have to physically take it out and put it on, and you're almost more involved with it.
I'm pretty patient, you know.
How have you played on over 2,000 records? It's
I
so
got the
crazy.
phone call. No,
But can you can't remember every one of them, can you?
no, I'm finding new every day. I was someone sent me a list of some bunch of records, and I didn't remember two out of three. But you know, I've been making records since 1960,
Wow.
and this is 2020,
Wow.
and if it weren't for this foolishness that's going on in the world, I'd probably be still making them right now. You know,
That's amazing.
so what I'm doing now, my students have. I'm teaching online like everybody else,
Hmm.
and now that I have time to do stuff, my students said I should listen to this record or I should listen to that record, and I remember that. And the answer I know I don't remember, but give me the link and I'll find it if I remember it. And ultimately, the memory comes back. But that's what I'm in and doing for the past 6 months of kind of being forced to do my own research on me.
Yeah.
I did make a lot of music, and I was surprised those records that kind of got by my memory after I did them.
Yeah, it's must be amazing to have just that body of work because it's when you look at all the records you've played on, it's unbelievable. It's like wow.
It's true.
It's just it's crazy, man. It's like I don't know. It's just I think it's amazing. Um, do you do you find yourself um more so composing more now that you're in the predicament we're in at the moment, or you just
Not so much. You know, I like to write for people. Right now, I'm not in that environment. Of course, I'm not playing it with anybody. I'm not making any gigs. So
hmm
my my uh, my inspirations, reasons, my environments that I would write for are not available to me. So I'm not one of those guys who can just sit down and write a piece. That's just not what I do.
right?
I admire people who have that, who do that.
Yeah,
I have to sit down and have a write for. I can write for a project. I can write for a concept. But just to sit down and write a melody out of my head with no specific goal in mind other than write it, I'm not very good at that.
yeah. Do you find like books and maybe something you've seen influence you just as much as music?
No,
No.
music is really Music is the water for what I do. Yeah.
Yeah, so just purely music.
Well, of course, if you read newspapers every day, that stuff has to affect you. You know, the events that are completely out of your control and by and large out of your awareness until you read about them at some other point during the course of the week or the day. And of course, those events leave their mark on you. But as I understand your question, the music, since I'm in it for a long time, that's my first source of, of inspiration. I kind of avoid that word, but my first source of where to look for reasons to write.
Yeah,
That's not necessarily for an intellectual cause or a specific terrible event
yeah.
that's overwhelming. I'm not going to write something called the pandemic blues. I'm not going to do that. But that's part of our times, you know.
Yeah. Is teaching something that you love as much as playing?
Yes.
Yeah. Is it what do you get out of it more so as much as
Watching
playing?
it, watching the kids get better because I've helped them.
Yeah. Yeah. That must be really cool.
Yeah, to see them get better because I made a suggestion. That's great. I love that feeling.
Yeah. Do you ever associate music with colors?
No,
No, not tones or anything like that.
not really.
No.
No. What do you play?
I play piano and guitar and bits of pieces, sitar and anything I can get my hands on.
So you're primarily a journalist?
No, I'm a musician, composer.
Okay.
Yeah, but just kind of when the pandemic hit and stuff like that, I said, oh, I'll do podcasts, and I've been meeting a lot of cool people, and it's great
Okay.
because you just learn from people, like, you know, like yourself. I would learn so much from you just giving me your time, which is so. I'm so thankful for you. It's such an honor to speak to you. But yeah, it's kind of cool because we're,
Okay.
you know, in the world, it's a strange time, but it's good. Yeah.
Yes, if we're all trying to get through every day. I tell my friends that I had 2 Thursdays last week, and they ask me how I'm doing, and that lets them know how I am. You know.
Yeah, yeah. What record of yours would you, if you were to say to someone that they should listen to first, would you recommend? Or I'm sure that's a loaded question because there's so many.
Yeah, it is, and then again, I trying to avoid that kind of kind of specific record question because if I give one record, that means that I think lesser of the other 2,219 or whatever. So I asked them to just go to the library and pick out one or two whose titles interest you, and see if the music in those records matches the titles. And that's the start for them, those people. But I would never say this is my best record, or that's I had the most fun doing that, or that's really important. If I say those kind of specific questions, it means that I didn't appreciate it as much as the other records because this is the best, and I'm not. They were all the best because I learned every one of them was like going to school free. And I enjoyed being a student of all those records, man.
That's cool, man.
I mean,
Well,
really.
well, I really appreciate your time. It's been an honor to speak to you. I love the records you played on that I've heard. I definitely haven't heard all 2000 and something, but the ones I've heard are amazing. And I thank you so much for your time and your music and everything. And it's been a true honor to speak to you.
And I assure you, if I was still recording, I would give you getting better.
Well,
It's coming back. Just be patient. It's coming back.
good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Ron. I really appreciate this.
See you soon.
Greetings from Ireland. Have a beautiful
you.
day.
And you have a beautiful morning.
Morning. Sorry, morning. See you on. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.